Okay, my name is Rollie Cook, and I've been with this club for on and off since in the 80s. And I'm here to tell you a story of the '69 Honda 450 Super Sport that I restored. And a little cosmic coincidence is the calendar days match identical to the 1969 calendar days. It's sort of a omen. Anyway, the bike being a '69, when I was younger, I'd purchased a brand new Honda 450 Candy Apple Red on April 22nd, 1969. Well, that bike, I only had it for a short time of 2 months, and somebody came to a stop sign, and that ended that motorcycle's career. It's left a little sort of a soft spot in my heart, and I finally, by fluke, one day at work, had an engineer come up to me and said, "Hey, you're interested in old Hondas? I've got an old bike you might be interested in." Well, we made arrangements, and that night at 7:30 sharp I was at his house, and in the back of his garage in the shed, covered underneath peat moss, garden hose, wood, was this old Honda. And we got all that stuff off, and we put air in the tires and pushed it out into daylight, and it was a '69 Honda 450. And so I sort of like, the light bulb went off and I was a happy camper. So we immediately purchased that bike and started working on it. That was in 2008 when I picked up the bike. We just finished it last fall. But some of the stories as to the restoration of it were, tore the motor down, put it all together, torqued the heads down, went to do the valves, only to find out that I had zero clearance on the valve stem to the tap, nothing. It was just like, so automatically off come the head again, throw away the brand new gasket, poof, gone, toasted. Did some work on the valves to get them in place, put it back together, torqued everything down, got the motor together. So in the spring of this year, the bike was all assembled, ready to fire up, and which we did, only to have a strange, I call it a motor noise. So I shut her down, checked it again. The lifters, somehow one of the valves on the right back intake had seated, and it disappeared all the clearance once again. So we had to sit down and think of a way. I don't want to pull the head off, so I sneakily pulled the torsion bar off and the little activator pad, which is nicely shaped, sat down and let's say abraded it away to get my clearance, and it worked. It's a no-no, you're not supposed to do, but it worked. Motor went back together, fired it up again, and then my heart sort of sank because the motor was really clicking away. So I took the acorn bolt off the head like you're supposed to, where the oil passageway from the motor to oil the upper end should be working. Fired the bike up, and that's when I just about had a heart attack. Zero oil was coming up to the top end. So it's a good thing I pre-lubed everything really heavily, so it saved it, sort of a thing. So I ended up, once again, this nicely assembled motor, tear it apart, take the clutch out, take the oils, pull the oil pump out, put it on the test bed, a little pan full of oil, and take the plunger, activate it, and there was nothing. It was just pathetic little dribble coming out of it. So back into the workshop, dig apart another motor from a later year, which cross-referenced to fit, put it in. So now I have 30% more oil going to the upper end, which is bingo, working like a charm. Put it all back together. We're sitting there, I hit the electric starter and click, click, click. You're joking me. Off come the starter motor. Tear it apart, rebuild it, put it back in. Right on. So I know the starter motor's working good. Hit the button, it sort of, and all of a sudden, wing! What's going on now? Off come the starter motor clutch on the other side. And it was a Honda from hell, we'll call it, for sort of another term. It took a long time before I got the thing running the way it's supposed to. It still gives me a couple of surprises every now and then. Out of the blue, it started an oil leak off the timing advance side, so off comes the parts again and seal that up. And, what else was I going to tell you? There was something I had to, anyway, the paint. That Candy Apple Red paint, believe it or not, is an original Candy Apple Red paint from the factory. I had, when I bought my first bike, they had given me a box load of these touch-up cans in which there was a whole bunch of candy reds, candy blues, oranges, greens. And we got our super painter man here to do the paint job. and he did a smacked up job on the matchup of the color because I had an original side cover that was very, very kept in the dark, and it retained its original candy red, because the candy red Honda paints faded extremely bad, extremely bad. So we've got the paint matched exactly the way it is, would come from the factory. So basically that's the story of the Honda 450 that I put together.
Wow.
Thank you very much.